between fighting corruption and fighting corrupt people. For me, that's very profound, that's very fundamental, and it speaks to the whole essence of our anti-graft crusade. In other words, it is my own expectation, it is my expectation that under your leadership, the EFCC, while trying to catch up with corrupt people, will do everything possible to ensure that as an institution, it continues to emphasize on the need for government to address those fundamentals that will continue to enhance corruption. And finally, how, as the chairman, would you ensure that it is not just, the Yahoo boys who are prosecuted? How will you ensure that convictions are also secured with respect to the high-profile cases? Thank you. And Chief Whip, I appreciate your tolerance.
You may respond to the questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished senators. I appreciate the kind words from Senator Ibn Nala and Senator Ike Koramadu. Distinguished Senator Gabriel Suzwan asked about the qualification, whether I am qualified by the provisions of the law to be the executive chairman of the EFCC. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the provision of the law is very clear. It says that the person to be so appointed as chairman should be a serving or retired security or law enforcement officer. Now the question is, am I a law enforcement officer? Yes, I am, because by the provision of Section 2, Section 8, subsection 5, that the EFCC, officers of the EFCC, in the discharge of their duty, have all the powers, authorities, privileges, and immunities of a police officer. We have been trained, as I said during my opening remark, as law enforcement officers. We have been trained in musketry, handling of arms, etc., etc. Have been trained to arrest, to detain, to interrogate, and to also testify in court, which we have done and which I have been doing since I joined the EFCC. So in that regard, I'm eminently qualified. The second issue there is that the officer to be so nominated must have 15 years cognate experience in law enforcement. I've been in the EFCC since 2004. If we do the math, distinguished senators, you can see that I'm well over 15 years as a law enforcement officer. The third issue is that the officer to be appointed should not be law and assistant. Now, I'm not a police officer, but the equivalent of my rank is the equivalent of that of an assistant commissioner of police. So in answer to distinguished senator question on whether I'm qualified, the answer is yes, I'm qualified. Distinguished Senator Wamoko asked whether or not I'm going to retain police officers or whether or not I'm going to return all of them. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the issue of secondment or the secondment of personnel in public service from one agency to another is an issue of need. If the need arises, you second. If the need did not arise, you second or you will not second at all to your organization. As I said, we are going to review the process. We are looking at the situation where we will have a very robust and articulated establishment. If the need arises for us to detain some of the police officers, we will retain them. If the need allows us to return them back, we will return them back. After all, we are all serving the same government, we are all Nigerians, and of course, we all desire that we have a better Nigeria. I just want to add here, Mr. President, distinguished senators, that we at the EFCC, we are very, very grateful with the foundation laid by the police authority at the EFCC. All our leadership, we are not unmindful of the fact that they were all serving or retired police officers, from the pioneer chairman, Mr. Ribado, to the current acting executive chairman, Mohammed Umar Abba. We have had a very good, cordial relationship with them. They have done their best for the country, and other staff also that have joined them, seasoned officers that we learn the job from Mr. Lamurde to Mr. Wakili, etc., to mention but a few, deputy, etc. They are police officers that we look up to, and that's about it. I think we will look at the possibility whether we need them or not. The single senator Indume asks a question regarding the unexplained wealth order. Coincidentally, Mr. President, distinguished senator, I'm the desk officer of the unexplained wealth order at the EFCC, because during the course of my career, particularly in the last 5 years, I'm not aware of any detective at the EFCC that had worked closely with the National Crime Agency of the United Kingdom. So I'm fully aware about the unexplained wealth order. But there is certain provision at the EFCC, in the EFCC Establishment Act, that more or less, gave us also these powers. And that, if I may, quote the act, I have a copy here, distinguished senators, Section 7, Section 7, subsection 1b states that the Commission has the power to cause investigation to be conducted into the properties of any person if it appears to the Commission that the person's lifestyle and the extent of the properties are not justified by his source of income. Meaning, without any complaint, without anything, if it comes to our knowledge that you have amassed so much properties that are not justified by your sources of income, the EFCC can ask question. And that is what, the simple definition or explanation regarding the unexplained wealth order. You have this property, the UK will ask you, what is this property for? And that is it. You explain, if you explain that, yes, this is how you earn it, so be it. If you did not explain, then they can further their investigation to determine how you acquired it. So I think looking at this provision, we are covered for now until we are seeing how other jurisdictions have fired with this unexplained wealth order. The next, over 90% so-called with secured convictions on 90. As I said during my opening remark, provisions of Cybercrime Prohibition Act and Related Offences Act are part of the acts that we are empowered to enforce. We are enforcing our laws based on the provisions of the law. That is regarding the issue of Yahoo Yahoo. Yes, there are simple cases that will file 1 or 2 count charges, and normally the suspect or the accused or the defendants are young, they can easily plead guilty, particularly with the passage of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015. They can easily plead again and continue their life. But the high-profile cases, we are dealing with politically exposed persons, people that have held position of power and authority, people that have, the best lawyers in town. And of course, their reputation and what they stand for, calls to question. So of course, we need to iron it out. We need to have rigorous trial in court, and trials normally take a long time in our courts. But of course, we diligently prosecuted our cases. That is why we are securing the convictions that we have. But particularly amending, of course, some of our concerns regarding some of the emerging issues on AJA, etc. I believe there will be more better forum to discuss some of these issues on how some of these cases can be accelerated in their determination in our courts. Thank you very much.
Senator Oluremi Tinubu.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. My name is Oluremi Tinubu, representing Lagos Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee Malambawa.
Yes.
Seeing you here today gladdens my heart. And I want to thank Mr. President. People who are not even your age, they follow. But I'm just going to, I believe that's your wife there.
Yes.
Pray for your husband very well. I'll pray for you too.
Thank you very much.
Because we want to see a lot of youth like you showing the other youths around Nigeria that if you want to get to the top, you don't have to be destructive. We want to dialogue. I'm 60 years old now. I expect you to walk the talk. God bless you.
Thank you very much,
Mr. President.